Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Library. It's lovely to have you here tonight. Before we begin, I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from. Perhaps you're nestled in a warm bed, maybe sitting in a quiet corner with the soft glow of a lamp, or resting somewhere peaceful as the day gently fades away. Wherever you are, I hope you're comfortable, safe, and ready to let your mind wander through the gentle mysteries of life itself. If you enjoy these calming explorations of science and would like to hear more, a like and subscribe really helps this quiet channel continue. And to those of you already subscribed, thank you. Your support means more than you know. Now, tonight, we're going to explore something extraordinary. Something that surrounds you at every moment. The biology of almost everything. From the tiniest building blocks inside your cells to the grand connections between all living things. From the microscopic helpers in soil to the elegant patterns that appear again and again in nature. So, let's begin, shall we? Life is everywhere. It's in the air you breathe, the food you eat, the ground beneath your feet. It's on your skin, in your body, floating through oceans, hiding in soil, reaching towards sunlight. And remarkably, all of this life, no matter how different it appears, follows the same beautiful rules. The same gentle principles guide a towering tree, a swimming fish, a buzzing bee, and even you. Tonight, we'll explore these principles together, moving slowly through the foundations of biology, discovering how they connect to your everyday world in ways both simple and surprising. Let's start at the very beginning, with the smallest unit of life, the cell. Imagine something so tiny that thousands could fit on the point of a pin. Yet, within this microscopic space exists a world of organized activity, a miniature factory working constantly to keep life going. Every living thing you've ever seen, from the smallest bacterium to the largest whale, is made of cells. Some creatures are just one cell living independently. Others, like you, are made of trillions of cells working together in harmony. Think of a cell as a tiny room with walls, furniture, and workers, all doing specific jobs. The outer boundary, called the cell membrane, acts like a gentle gatekeeper. It decides what comes in and what stays out, keeping the cell's interior safe while allowing nutrients to enter and waste to leave. It's made of special molecules arranged in 2 layers, creating a flexible barrier that can bend and move as the cell needs. Inside this protective boundary lies a jelly-like substance called cytoplasm. This isn't just empty space filled with liquid. It's a busy place where countless chemical reactions happen every second. Floating in this cytoplasm are various structures, each with its own purpose, like organs in a body, but much, much smaller. Scientists call these little organs organelles, and each one has a special job to do. At the heart of most cells sits the nucleus, a rounded structure that holds something precious. Inside the nucleus, carefully coiled and folded, lives your genetic material, DNA. This remarkable molecule contains all the instructions needed to build and operate your entire body. It's like a library of recipes, but instead of recipes for cookies or cakes, these are recipes for proteins, the building blocks and workers of your cells. DNA itself is elegantly simple in design. It's shaped like a twisted ladder, a form scientists call a double helix. The sides of this ladder are made of sugar and phosphate molecules, creating a strong backbone. The rungs of the ladder are made of 4 different chemical letters, which scientists call bases. These bases always pair up in the same way: adenine with thymine and cytosine with guanine. You can think of these as 4 letters in an alphabet: A, T, C, and G. And just like letters can be arranged to form words, sentences, and stories, these 4 chemical letters can be arranged in different orders to create all the instructions life needs. The order of these letters along the DNA strand determines what gets made. A specific stretch of DNA with a complete set of instructions for making one protein is called a gene. You have about 20,000 genes in your cells, each one a distinct instruction manual. Some genes tell your cells how to make the proteins that form your muscles. Others contain instructions for proteins that help you digest food, fight infections, or create the pigments that color your eyes. What's truly remarkable is that almost every cell in your body contains a complete copy of all your DNA. A cell in your toe has the same genetic library as a cell in your brain or your heart. But each cell only reads the parts of the instructions it needs for its specific job. A muscle cell reads the muscle-making instructions. A brain cell reads different chapters. It's like having a massive cookbook where each cook only uses the recipes relevant to their station in the kitchen. But DNA doesn't work alone. To turn its instructions into actual proteins, it needs help from a messenger. This messenger is called RNA, a molecule similar to DNA, but with a few key differences. When a cell needs to make a particular protein, it creates a copy of that gene's instructions using RNA. This RNA copy then travels out of the nucleus to special structures called ribosomes, which read the RNA instructions and assemble proteins, one building block at a time. Proteins are the true workhorses of your cells. They come in thousands of different shapes and sizes, each designed for a specific task. Some proteins give structure to your cells, like the beams in a building. Others act as messengers, carrying signals from one part of your body to another. Many proteins are enzymes, special workers that speed up chemical reactions. Without enzymes, the reactions necessary for life would happen far too slowly. With enzymes, reactions that might take years happen in fractions of a second. Now, let's talk about energy. Cells need energy to do their work, just like a car needs fuel to run. In your cells, most of this energy is produced in remarkable little structures called mitochondria. These are sometimes called the powerhouses of the cell, and for good reason. Mitochondria take in nutrients, particularly sugar molecules, and break them down in a controlled way, capturing the energy released and storing it in special molecules called ATP. These ATP molecules are like charged batteries that can be used wherever energy is needed in the cell. Interestingly, mitochondria have their own DNA, separate from the DNA in your nucleus. Scientists believe that billions of years ago, mitochondria were actually independent bacteria that entered into a partnership with other cells. This partnership was so successful that it became permanent. Now, we cannot live without our mitochondria, and they cannot live without us. It's one of nature's most beautiful examples of cooperation. Plant cells have something similar, but even more remarkable. They have chloroplasts, structures that can capture energy directly from sunlight. Inside chloroplasts, a process called photosynthesis transforms light energy into chemical energy stored in sugar molecules. This process is fundamental to almost all life on Earth. Plants use photosynthesis to create their own food from sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. And when you eat plants, or eat animals that ate plants, you're ultimately using energy that came from the sun, captured by chloroplasts, and passed along the chain of life. The process of photosynthesis is elegantly balanced with another process called cellular respiration. Plants make sugar and release oxygen during photosynthesis. Animals and other organisms take in that oxygen and break down sugars during respiration, releasing carbon dioxide and water. And what do plants need to make more sugar? Carbon dioxide and water. It's a beautiful cycle, a gentle exchange between different forms of life that has been running for billions of years. Now, here's something wonderful to consider. You started as a single cell, just one. That cell came from the joining of two special cells, one from each of your parents. This single cell contained all the genetic instructions needed to build you. But how did one cell become the trillions that make up your body now? Through a process called cell division. Cells grow by taking in nutrients and building more of their internal structures. When a cell reaches a certain size, it divides into two daughter cells. But before it divides, it makes a complete copy of all its DNA, ensuring that each daughter cell receives a full set of instructions. This process, called mitosis, is happening in your body right now. Your skin cells divide to replace old ones that wear away. Cells in your digestive system divide rapidly because they face harsh conditions. Cells in your bones create new blood cells every day. The precision of cell division is remarkable. Your DNA must be copied with incredible accuracy. If mistakes happen, they can cause problems. But your cells have quality control systems that check for errors and fix most of them. Sometimes, however, mistakes slip through. These changes in the DNA sequence are called mutations. Most mutations have no effect at all, landing in parts of the DNA that don't contain important instructions. Some mutations cause problems. But occasionally, very rarely, a mutation might create a change that's actually helpful. This is one of the engines of evolution. Evolution is one of the most beautiful and powerful ideas in all of biology. It explains how life changes over time, how new species arise, and how all living things on Earth are connected through deep history. The core idea is surprisingly simple. Living things produce more offspring than can survive. These offspring are slightly different from each other because of small variations in their genes. Some of these variations make certain individuals better suited to their environment. These better suited individuals are more likely to survive and have offspring of their own, passing on their helpful variations. Over many generations, these small changes accumulate and populations slowly transform. This process is called natural selection, and it was described most famously by Charles Darwin. He observed that organisms vary, that these variations can be inherited, and that some variations help organisms survive and reproduce better than others. Over vast stretches of time, natural selection shapes populations, guiding them toward better and better fits with their environments. The evidence for evolution is found everywhere in biology. It's in the fossil record, showing how life has changed over millions of years. It's in the similarities between different species. The bones in a human arm are arranged in the same basic pattern as the bones in a bat's wing, a whale's flipper, and a cat's paw. These shared structures suggest common ancestry. It's in the chemistry of life. All living things use DNA with the same four-letter alphabet. All use the same basic cellular machinery. This suggests that all life on Earth descended from a common ancestor billions of years ago. Evolution doesn't have a goal or direction. It doesn't make organisms better in any absolute sense. It simply makes them better suited to their current environment. And environments change, so evolution never stops. A trait that's helpful in one place or time might be harmful in another. What matters is how well an organism fits its particular circumstances right now. Consider the giraffe's long neck. Long ago, giraffes with slightly longer necks could reach leaves higher in trees, giving them access to food that shorter giraffes couldn't reach. These taller giraffes were more likely to survive when food was scarce and more likely to have offspring. Some of those offspring inherited genes for longer necks. Over many generations, this led to the long-necked giraffes we see today. It's not that giraffes stretched their necks by reaching for high branches. It's that natural selection favored the individuals who happened to be born with slightly longer necks. Natural selection can work quickly or slowly, depending on circumstances. When environments change rapidly, selection can be intense, favoring rapid adaptation. When conditions are stable, selection may be gentle, allowing populations to remain much the same for long periods. And sometimes, random chance plays a role too. In small populations, genes can become more or less common just by luck, a process called genetic variation. Evolution is a combination of natural selection, mutation, and chance, all interacting in complex ways. The result of evolution over billions of years is the astonishing variety of life we see today. Scientists estimate there are somewhere between 8 and 10 million different species on Earth, though many haven't been discovered yet. Each species is uniquely adapted to its way of life, shaped by countless generations of natural selection. But species don't exist in isolation. They interact with each other and with their physical environment in what we call ecosystems. An ecosystem includes all the living things in a particular area, along with the non-living components like water, air, soil, and sunlight, and all the interactions between them. Ecosystems can be as large as an ocean or as small as a puddle. They can be a rainforest, a desert, a coral reef, or even your backyard. Within ecosystems, energy flows and materials cycle. Let's start with energy flow. As we discussed, plants and other photosynthetic organisms capture energy from the sun and store it in sugars. These organisms are called producers because they produce their own food. Animals that eat plants are called primary consumers or herbivores. Animals that eat herbivores are called secondary consumers or carnivores. Animals that eat other carnivores are tertiary consumers, and at the end of the line, decomposers break down the remains of all these organisms, returning nutrients to the soil and completing the cycle. This sequence is often called a food chain. But real ecosystems are more complex than simple chains. Most animals eat more than one kind of food. Many organisms fit into multiple categories. So instead of chains, ecologists think about food webs, complex networks of who eats whom. These webs show how energy moves through an ecosystem in multiple pathways, how different species are connected, and how changes to one species can affect many others. Energy flows through an ecosystem in one direction, from the sun through producers to consumers, and finally to decomposers, with some energy lost as heat at each step. But materials cycle. The atoms that make up your body have been part of countless other organisms before you, and will be part of many more after. Carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and other elements cycle continuously through ecosystems, moving from soil to plants to animals and back to soil again. Take the nitrogen cycle as an example. Nitrogen is essential for life. It's a key component of proteins and DNA. The atmosphere is mostly nitrogen gas, but most organisms can't use nitrogen in this form. Special bacteria in the soil can take nitrogen gas from the air and convert it into forms that plants can absorb. This process is called nitrogen fixation. Plants use this fixed nitrogen to build proteins. Animals eat plants and use that nitrogen to build their own proteins. When plants and animals excrete waste or pass away, decomposers break down their tissues and release nitrogen back into the soil. Some of this nitrogen is taken up by plants again. Some is converted back to nitrogen gas by other bacteria, completing the cycle. The carbon cycle is equally important and intimately connected to climate. Carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is taken up by plants during photosynthesis and built into sugars and other organic molecules. Animals eat plants and release carbon dioxide when they breathe. Decomposers also release carbon dioxide as they break down organic matter. Over very long timescales, some carbon gets buried and forms fossil fuels like coal and oil. When we burn these fuels, we release carbon that was stored millions of years ago, adding extra carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. This is one of the main causes of climate change, a disruption of the natural carbon cycle that has been balanced for millions of years. Ecosystems are surprisingly resilient. They can absorb disturbances and bounce back. But every ecosystem has limits. Remove too many species, pollute too heavily, or change conditions too drastically, and an ecosystem can collapse, transforming into something very different. The variety of species in an ecosystem, what scientists call biodiversity, is often linked to its stability. More diverse ecosystems tend to be more resilient because there are more pathways for energy flow, more connections in the food web, and more ways for the system to respond to change. Biodiversity is valuable for many reasons. Each species plays a role in its ecosystem, though some roles are more important than others. Keystone species, for example, have effects on their ecosystems that are disproportionate to their numbers. Remove a keystone species, and the entire ecosystem can change dramatically. Sea otters are a classic example. In kelp forests along the Pacific coast, sea otters eat sea urchins. Without otters, sea urchin populations explode and devour the kelp, transforming lush forests into barren areas. Protect the otters and the forests thrive, supporting countless other species. One species, many impacts. This is the power of ecological connections. Biodiversity also provides what scientists call ecosystem services, benefits that nature provides to humans. Forests clean the air and water, regulate climate and prevent erosion. Wetlands filter pollutants and buffer against floods. Pollinators like bees and butterflies help produce the crops we depend on for food. Healthy ecosystems provide these services for free, but when ecosystems are damaged, these services are lost, often at great cost to human societies. Now, let's zoom in from ecosystems to something much smaller but equally fascinating: the microorganisms that surround us and live within us. Bacteria, fungi, and other microbes are everywhere. In fact, there are more bacterial cells in your body than human cells. Most of these are helpful, even essential. In your digestive system, trillions of bacteria help break down food, produce vitamins, and protect against harmful invaders. This community of microbes is called your microbiome, and scientists are discovering that it plays crucial roles in your health, affecting everything from digestion to mood to immune function. Microbes live on almost every surface you touch. Your kitchen counter, your phone, your doorknob, all host communities of bacteria. Most of these are harmless. Many are actually beneficial, competing with the few harmful ones for space and resources. This is why extreme sterilization isn't always the best approach. Some microbial diversity on surfaces is healthy and normal. In soil, microbes are absolutely essential. Bacteria and fungi break down dead plant and animal material, releasing nutrients back into the soil where plants can use them. Some bacteria form partnerships with plant roots, providing nitrogen in exchange for sugars. Fungi, called mycorrhizae, extend the reach of plant roots, helping them absorb water and nutrients from a much larger area of soil. Without these microbial partners, many plants would struggle to survive. Fungi are particularly remarkable. While some fungi are harmful, causing diseases in plants and animals, many are beneficial. Mushrooms, the visible parts of fungi, are just fruiting bodies. The main part of the fungus is a network of thin threads called hyphae that spread through soil or wood, or whatever the fungus is growing on. These networks can be enormous. The largest known organism on Earth is a fungus in Oregon that covers thousands of acres underground. Fungi break down wood and other tough materials that most organisms cannot digest, playing a crucial role in recycling nutrients in forests. Bacteria are even more diverse than fungi. They live in every environment imaginable, from hot springs to frozen tundra, from deep ocean vents to the human gut. Some bacteria can survive extreme heat, others thrive in freezing temperatures. Some can live in highly acidic conditions, others in very salty water. This versatility makes bacteria incredibly successful. They've been on Earth for billions of years and will likely be here long after humans are gone. Most bacteria are either harmless or helpful. In fact, you depend on bacteria for your survival. Bacteria in your gut help digest food, produce vitamin K and B vitamins, train your immune system, and protect against harmful bacteria. Without your bacterial partners, you would be much more vulnerable to infection and disease. This is why taking antibiotics, which affect bacteria, can sometimes cause digestive problems. The medicine doesn't just target harmful bacteria, it can also affect helpful ones, temporarily disrupting the balance in your microbiome. The biology of microbes reminds us that life is deeply interconnected. No organism truly lives alone. We are all embedded in webs of relationships, depending on other species for our survival and providing benefits to others in turn. This is true at every scale, from the microscopic partnerships between plants and bacteria to the grand connections in food webs spanning entire ecosystems. Let's think about your own body now, a magnificent example of biological organization. You are made of trillions of cells, but these cells aren't just randomly distributed. They're organized into tissues, groups of similar cells working together. Different tissues combine to form organs, structures with specific functions, and multiple organs work together in organ systems. You have about 11 major organ systems, each with its own important role. Your digestive system breaks down food into molecules small enough to absorb. Your circulatory system transports oxygen, nutrients, and waste products throughout your body. Your respiratory system brings in oxygen and removes carbon dioxide. Your nervous system coordinates and controls your body's activities using electrical and chemical signals. Your immune system defends against infections and diseases. Your skeletal system provides structure and protection. Your muscular system allows movement. Your endocrine system produces hormones that regulate growth, metabolism, and reproduction. Your reproductive system creates the next generation. Your excretory system removes waste. And your integumentary system, your skin, provides a barrier against the environment. All of these systems work together seamlessly. When you eat an apple, your digestive system breaks it down. Your circulatory system carries the nutrients to your cells. Your respiratory system brings in oxygen to help release energy from those nutrients. Your muscular system allows you to bite and chew. Your nervous system coordinates all these activities and lets you taste the apple's sweetness. It's a beautiful symphony of coordination, all happening automatically, all driven by the instructions encoded in your DNA. Your brain, part of your nervous system, is perhaps the most complex structure in the known universe. It contains roughly 86 billion neurons, specialized cells that communicate using electrical and chemical signals. These neurons form trillions of connections, creating networks that store memories, generate thoughts, process sensations, and control behavior. Somehow, from these biological processes, consciousness emerges. Your ability to think, feel, wonder, and experience the world arises from the coordinated activity of cells following chemical and physical laws. It's one of the deepest mysteries in science. Your immune system is another marvel of biological engineering. It must distinguish between your own cells and foreign invaders, between harmless substances and dangerous pathogens. It does this using an incredibly complex system of recognition, communication, and response. When bacteria or viruses enter your body, specialized immune cells identify them as foreign and mount an attack. Some immune cells engulf and destroy invaders. Others produce antibodies, proteins that attach to foreign molecules and mark them for disposal. Your immune system even has a memory. After fighting off an infection, it remembers that particular pathogen, allowing it to respond faster and stronger if that pathogen returns. This is the principle behind vaccination, exposing your immune system to a harmless version of a pathogen so it can develop memory and protection without making you sick. The biology of your body extends beyond systems and organs to the molecules that keep you running. Consider water. About 60% of your body weight is water. This simple molecule is essential for nearly every biological process. It dissolves nutrients, transports materials, regulates temperature, cushions your joints, and provides structure to your cells. The unique properties of water make life as we know it possible. It's an excellent solvent, meaning many substances dissolve in it. It has high heat capacity, meaning it can absorb a lot of heat without changing temperature much, helping regulate your body temperature. It expands when it freezes, which is unusual and important because it means ice floats. If ice sank, oceans and lakes would freeze from the bottom up, likely making life in water much more difficult or impossible. Now, let's think about some specific biological phenomena you encounter in daily life. Take yeast, a tiny fungus used in baking and brewing. When you make bread, you mix yeast with flour, water, and usually some sugar. The yeast cells feed on the sugar and produce carbon dioxide gas as a waste product through a process called fermentation. This gas gets trapped in the dough, creating bubbles that make the bread rise and giving it a light, fluffy texture. In brewing, yeast ferments sugars from grains or fruits, producing alcohol and carbon dioxide. The same basic biological process that happens in a single-celled fungus creates both bread and beer, gifts of biology to human culture. Or consider the plants in your home, if you have any. These quiet organisms are performing photosynthesis, taking in carbon dioxide from your air and releasing oxygen. They're not just decorative, they're actively improving your air quality. They also transpire, releasing water vapor through their leaves, which can increase humidity in dry indoor spaces. The roots of your houseplants interact with fungi in the soil, forming partnerships that help the plant absorb nutrients. Even in a simple potted plant, complex biological interactions are happening continuously. Think about the food in your kitchen. An apple is a plant organ, specifically a fruit, designed to protect and nourish seeds. The sweet flesh attracts animals who eat the fruit and spread the seeds in their waste, helping the apple tree reproduce. The sugars in the apple were made through photosynthesis, built from carbon dioxide and water using energy from sunlight. When you eat that apple, you're consuming stored solar energy, transferred to you through the elegant chemistry of biology. Cheese is another biological marvel. It's made by adding bacteria or fungi to milk. These microbes ferment the milk sugars, producing lactic acid that causes the milk to curdle, separating into solid curds and liquid whey. Different microbes produce different flavors and textures. The sharp flavor of aged cheddar, the blue veins in blue cheese, the creamy texture of brie, all result from specific bacteria or fungi doing their work. Cheese is essentially controlled spoilage, guided by human knowledge of microbial biology. Even the wood in your furniture has biology written into it. Wood is made of cellulose and lignin, tough molecules that gave structural support to trees. The patterns in wood grain reflect how the tree grew, adding layers each year. You can often see these growth rings, with wider rings representing years of good growing conditions and narrower rings showing tougher times. Trees in temperate climates typically grow more in spring and summer than in fall and winter, creating distinct patterns that tell the tree's life story. Natural phenomena around you are full of biology too. When the weather warms in spring, deciduous trees leaf out. This happens because longer days and warmer temperatures trigger hormonal changes in the tree, activating genes that promote bud formation and leaf growth. The timing is crucial. Leaf out too early, and a late frost might harm the tender new leaves. Leaf out too late, and the tree misses valuable time for photosynthesis. Trees have evolved to respond to environmental cues that predict the right timing for their local climate. In autumn, many trees drop their leaves. This isn't passive. It's an active process triggered by shorter days and cooler temperatures. The tree breaks down chlorophyll, the green pigment that captures light for photosynthesis, revealing other pigments that were there all along. Yellows, oranges, reds. Some of these colors come from carotenoids, the same pigments that make carrots orange. Others come from anthocyanins, which the tree produces as the leaf prepares to fall. These brilliant colors are the visible signs of chemistry in action, of a tree preparing for winter by shutting down, sealing off its leaves, and conserving energy until spring returns. Migration is another beautiful example of biology in the natural world. Birds, butterflies, whales, and many other animals undertake incredible journeys, traveling thousands of miles between breeding and feeding grounds. How do they navigate? Through a combination of inherited instincts and learned behaviors. Some species use the position of the sun or stars. Others sense Earth's magnetic field. Some follow coastlines or mountain ranges. Many use multiple cues, cross-checking different types of information to stay on course. The ability to migrate is coded in genes, but refined through learning and experience. Young birds often make their first migration with experienced adults, learning the route. Some species navigate alone, relying entirely on inherited instructions, a testament to the power of genetic programming. The timing of migration is often triggered by day length. As days get shorter in fall, hormonal changes prepare birds to migrate. They eat more, building fat reserves for the journey. Their metabolism shifts, optimizing energy use. They become restless at night, ready to fly. Then, when conditions are right, they depart, following routes carved by generations of ancestors. It's a cycle driven by Earth's orbit around the Sun, by seasonal changes in food availability, and by the deep biological programs inherited through evolution. Consider also the bacteria in your sourdough starter if you're a baker. Sourdough is made using wild yeast and bacteria naturally present in flour and the environment. When you mix flour and water and let it sit, these microbes multiply, fermenting the mixture. The yeast produces carbon dioxide that makes the bread rise. The bacteria produce lactic acid and acetic acid, giving sourdough its characteristic tangy flavor. Every sourdough starter is unique, hosting its own particular community of microbes, influenced by local environmental factors. This is biology as culture, literally and figuratively. Even the scent of rain is biological. That fresh, earthy smell after rain is called petrichor, and it comes partly from a compound called geosmin, produced by soil bacteria called actinomycetes. When rain hits dry soil, it releases geosmin into the air, creating that distinctive aroma. We humans are very sensitive to geosmin, able to detect it at extremely low concentrations. Some scientists think this sensitivity evolved because the smell of rain was a reliable signal of approaching water sources to our ancestors. Biology is also behind the bioluminescence you might see on a beach at night. In some coastal waters, tiny organisms called dinoflagellates produce light when disturbed. This creates a magical glow in the waves. The light is produced through a chemical reaction involving a molecule called luciferin and an enzyme called luciferase. When the dinoflagellates are jostled by waves or a swimmer's hand, they trigger this reaction, emitting blue-green light. Scientists think bioluminescence may help these tiny organisms startle predators or attract larger animals that might eat the predators. It's a defensive strategy turned into a breathtaking display. Biological principles even apply to human culture and technology. Medicine relies heavily on understanding biology. Antibiotics work because they target structures or processes that bacteria have but human cells don't. For example, penicillin interferes with bacterial cell wall formation. Bacteria need cell walls. Human cells don't have cell walls. So penicillin harms bacteria without harming human cells. Understanding the difference in biology between us and bacteria makes targeted treatment possible. Vaccines work by training your immune system using weakened or inactive versions of pathogens. Your immune cells encounter these harmless versions and learn to recognize them, building memory. If you're later exposed to the real pathogen, your immune system recognizes it immediately and responds quickly, often preventing illness entirely. This is applied biology, using knowledge of how the immune system works to prevent disease. Genetic engineering applies our understanding of DNA to modify organisms in useful ways. Scientists can insert genes from one organism into another, giving the recipient new abilities. Bacteria have been engineered to produce human insulin, making diabetes treatment more accessible. Crops have been modified to resist pests, tolerate drought, or produce more nutrients. These technologies raise ethical questions and require careful oversight, but they demonstrate the power of understanding biology at the molecular level. Biological principles inspire technology too. The structure of bird bones, strong yet lightweight, has influenced aircraft design. The way geckos climb walls, using millions of tiny hairs that create weak molecular attractions, has inspired new adhesives. The sonar of bats and dolphins inspired human sonar technology. Velcro was invented after someone noticed how burrs stick to clothing using tiny hooks. Nature has been solving engineering problems for billions of years through evolution, and humans are learning from these solutions, a field called biomimicry. Let's return to something closer to home: your own growth and development. You started as a single cell, remember? But you didn't just divide into more of the same cell. Through a process called differentiation, cells became specialized, taking on different roles. Some became nerve cells, some muscle cells, some bone cells. How did they know which type to become? Through complex interactions between genes and signals from the environment around each cell. As cells divided, their position in the growing embryo determined what signals they received, which in turn determined which genes were active, which shaped what kind of cell they became. This process is guided by a developmental program encoded in your DNA, but flexible enough to respond to circumstances. The same genome can produce many different cell types because different genes are active in different cells at different times. This is gene regulation, one of the most important concepts in modern biology. Your DNA is like a vast library. Every cell has access to the whole library, but each cell only reads the books relevant to its job. Throughout your life, your body continues to respond to your environment. When you exercise, your muscles grow stronger through a combination of individual muscle cells getting larger and new muscle fibers being created. This happens because exercise creates tiny tears in muscle tissue. Your body repairs this damage by building more protein in the muscle fibers, making them thicker and stronger. This is adaptation at the individual level, different from evolutionary adaptation, but using similar principles. Your body responds to demands by building capacity to meet those demands. Similarly, when you spend time in the sun, your skin produces more melanin, the pigment that gives skin color. This is a protective response. Melanin absorbs ultraviolet light, protecting cells from damage. People whose ancestors lived near the equator typically have more melanin in their skin because intense sunlight was a constant feature of their environment. Over many generations, natural selection favored individuals who could produce more melanin, providing better protection. People whose ancestors lived far from the equator, where sunlight is less intense, typically have lighter skin. Less melanin means better ability to produce vitamin D in conditions of limited sunlight. These variations in human skin color are adaptations to different environments, all variations on the same basic biological theme. Even your sleep patterns are driven by biology. Your body has internal clocks, molecular timers in your cells that track roughly 24-hour cycles. These circadian rhythms coordinate many functions. Your body temperature drops at night. Certain hormones are released at specific times. You feel sleepy in the evening and alert in the morning, assuming you follow a normal schedule. These rhythms are driven by genes that produce proteins in cyclical patterns, influenced by light exposure. When you see bright light, especially blue light, it signals to your brain that it's daytime, suppressing the production of melatonin, a hormone that promotes sleep. This is why many sleep experts suggest dimming lights in the evening and limiting screen time before bed. You're working with your biology, not against it. Your sense of taste is biological too. Your tongue has taste buds containing receptor cells that detect different molecules in food. Sweet taste detects sugars, important energy sources. Salty taste detects sodium, essential for nerve function and fluid balance. Sour taste detects acids, often a sign of unripe or spoiled food. Bitter taste detects a wide range of compounds, many of which are toxic. Umami taste detects amino acids, the building blocks of proteins. These 5 basic tastes give you information about the nutritional and safety qualities of food. Your preferences are shaped partly by biology, partly by culture and experience. Babies are born liking sweet tastes and disliking bitter ones, but you can learn to appreciate bitter flavors like coffee or dark chocolate through repeated positive exposure. Your sense of smell is even more complex. Humans can distinguish thousands of different scents. Smell molecules bind to receptors in your nose, and the pattern of which receptors are activated creates a specific signal that your brain interprets as a particular smell. Smell is strongly linked to memory and emotion, more so than other senses. This is because the brain regions that process smell are closely connected to regions involved in memory and emotion. This is why a particular scent can suddenly transport you back to a specific moment in your past. It's biology, creating bridges across time. Let's consider houseplants one more time, but with deeper appreciation. That succulent on your windowsill is adapted to store water in its fleshy leaves, an evolutionary response to dry environments. The cactus is an extreme example, with leaves reduced to spines to minimize water loss, and a thick stem that stores water and performs photosynthesis. The African violet has fuzzy leaves that reduce water loss and protect against pests. The pothos vine grows long stems with aerial roots that can absorb moisture from the air, an adaptation to climbing trees in rainforests. Each plant carries in its form the history of its ancestors' environments, shaped by countless generations of natural selection. When you water these plants, you're participating in their water cycle. Water enters through roots, moves up through special tubes called xylem to the leaves, where some evaporates through tiny pores called stomata. These pores also allow carbon dioxide in for photosynthesis and oxygen out as a byproduct. The plant must balance getting enough carbon dioxide for photosynthesis with not losing too much water through evaporation. This balance is constantly adjusted based on conditions. On hot, dry days, plants may partially close their stomata to conserve water, slowing photosynthesis but preventing dangerous water loss. It's a continuous negotiation with the environment, and you can help by providing appropriate amounts of water and light. The soil your plants grow in is alive too. 1 teaspoon of healthy soil contains more microorganisms than there are people on Earth. These microbes break down organic matter, making nutrients available. They form partnerships with plant roots. They compete with each other and with pathogens, protecting plant health through sheer diversity. When you buy potting soil, you're buying not just minerals, but a whole community of life. Maintaining healthy soil means nurturing this community through adding organic matter, avoiding harmful chemicals, and allowing time for natural processes to work. Let's think now about natural cycles in your environment. The water you drink has been cycling through Earth's systems for billions of years. It evaporates from oceans, rivers, and lakes, forms clouds, falls as rain or snow, flows through soil and rivers back to the ocean, and repeats. Along the way, it passes through countless organisms. Water that was once in a dinosaur could be in you now. Water molecules are continuously recycled. The same is true for carbon, nitrogen, and other elements. You are made of recycled atoms, ancient materials arranged in new patterns, temporarily organized as you, before being rearranged again into something else. There's something both humbling and connecting about this realization. Seasonal changes provide another example of natural cycles. Spring brings warmer temperatures and longer days. Plants respond by growing. Many animals reproduce in spring, timing births so that offspring arrive when food is abundant. Summer offers peak growth for plants as they race to capture sunlight and produce seeds before winter returns. Fall is harvest time. Plants produce fruits and seeds, storing energy. Animals prepare for winter by eating heavily or migrating. Winter is a time of dormancy for many species, a pause in the cycle, a slowdown of biological activity. Then, spring returns and the cycle begins again. These cycles are driven by Earth's orbit and tilt, but life has adapted to them, synchronizing biological rhythms with celestial mechanics. Hibernation is a fascinating adaptation to seasonal cycles. When food becomes scarce and temperatures drop, some animals enter a state of deep sleep, lowering their body temperature, slowing their heart rate and breathing, and surviving on stored fat reserves. This isn't just sleeping, it's a controlled reduction of metabolism, sometimes to only a few % of normal. The animal's body carefully manages this state, occasionally waking briefly to urinate or adjust position. When spring arrives, the animal wakes fully, having survived months without eating. This ability is coded in genes, shaped by evolution and triggered by environmental cues like temperature and day length. Birds don't hibernate, but many undergo remarkable physiological changes for migration. Before migrating, birds eat intensely, building fat reserves that can represent up to half their body weight. Their organs shrink temporarily to save energy, with digestive organs getting smaller since they won't be eating during flight. Their flight muscles grow larger and stronger. All of this is coordinated by hormones responding to environmental cues. After migration, these changes reverse. Organs regrow, fat reserves are used up, and the bird adjusts to its new environment. It's a dramatic biological transformation, repeated twice each year. Even the changing colors of leaves in autumn, which we mentioned earlier, are part of a carefully orchestrated shutdown process. As days shorten and temperatures cool, deciduous trees prepare for winter. They've evolved to drop their leaves because keeping leaves in winter would be wasteful. Leaves lose water and can be damaged by cold, so trees cut their losses, literally. Before dropping leaves, they break down chlorophyll, the green pigment, recovering valuable nitrogen. They also form an abscission layer, a special zone of cells at the base of each leaf stem. This layer eventually causes the leaf to detach and fall. What remains are the yellows and oranges of carotenoids, pigments that were always present but masked by chlorophyll. Some trees also produce red and purple anthocyanins, possibly to protect remaining nutrients in the leaf or to deter insects. The result is the spectacular fall colors we admire, a side effect of tree biology preparing for winter. Trees in winter aren't dormant in the sense of being inactive. They're alive, metabolizing slowly, maintaining essential functions, and even preparing for spring. Buds form in fall, containing tiny pre-formed leaves or flowers waiting for spring. Inside the tree, sugars are stored in roots and trunk, ready to fuel spring growth. Water moves slowly, just enough to prevent cells from drying out. The tree survives freezing temperatures through various adaptations. Some trees concentrate sugars in their cells, acting like antifreeze. Some allow water to freeze in specific spaces between cells, protecting delicate cell structures from damage. When spring arrives, the tree uses its stored energy to burst into growth, starting the cycle again. Animal behavior is another window into biology. Many behaviors are instinctive, programmed by genes. A newborn baby knows to suckle. A spider knows how to spin a web without being taught. A bird knows its species' song, though it may refine it by listening to adults. These instincts evolved because they increased survival and reproduction. But behavior is also shaped by learning. Animals remember where they found food. They learn to avoid things that made them sick. They recognize individuals. They solve problems. This flexibility is adaptive too, allowing animals to adjust to changing conditions. Social behavior in animals is particularly fascinating. Many species live in groups, cooperating in ways that benefit the group. Bees and ants have evolved elaborate social structures with division of labor. Most individuals never reproduce, instead working to support the colony and help the queen reproduce. This seems contrary to natural selection, which favors individuals who reproduce successfully. But in these insects, individuals share so many genes with their relatives that helping the colony is an effective way to pass on their genes, even if indirectly. This is called kin selection, and it explains much cooperative behavior in animals. Humans are intensely social too. Our large brains evolved partly to navigate complex social environments. We form bonds, remember faces, read emotions, cooperate on large scales, and share information through language. These abilities are rooted in biology, in brain structures and neurochemicals shaped by evolution. Love, for instance, involves hormones like oxytocin and dopamine that create feelings of attachment and pleasure. These aren't separate from biology. They are biology, evolved responses that promote pair bonding and parental care, increasing the survival chances of offspring. Language is one of humanity's most remarkable biological features. Every human culture has language. Children learn language quickly and naturally during early development. We're equipped with specific brain regions specialized for language processing. Yet language is also deeply cultural, varying enormously across societies. This combination of biological preparedness and cultural content makes language unique. It allows us to share knowledge across generations, cooperate on vast scales, and create complex cultures. Language turned human evolution down a new path, making cultural evolution as important as genetic evolution. Human culture influences biology in turn. The invention of agriculture changed human diets dramatically, and some human populations evolved adaptations. Many people whose ancestors herded cattle evolved the ability to digest lactose, the sugar in milk, into adulthood. Most mammals lose this ability after infancy, but in populations with long histories of dairy farming, mutations that allowed continued lactose digestion became common through natural selection. This is recent evolution, happening within the last 10,000 years, showing that evolution continues whenever there's selection pressure. Agriculture also changed the biology of our crop plants. Through selective breeding, humans transformed wild plants into domesticated varieties. Wild corn was a small grass with tiny kernels. Through thousands of years of selection by farmers, it became modern corn with large, densely packed kernels. Wild bananas had large, hard seeds. Cultivated bananas are mostly seedless, easier to eat. Wheat, rice, apples, and countless other crops have been shaped by human selection, a form of guided evolution where humans choose which plants reproduce. This created the agricultural abundance that supports human civilization. But it also made many crops dependent on humans. Modern corn cannot survive without human cultivation. Domesticated animals underwent similar transformations. Dogs descended from wolves, but thousands of years of breeding produced astonishing variety, from tiny chihuahuas to massive Great Danes. All are the same species, able to interbreed, but showing how genetic variation and selection can create dramatic differences in form and behavior. Cats, horses, cattle, sheep, and chickens have all been shaped by humans through selective breeding, making them more docile, more productive, or simply more desirable as companions. Now let's return once more to the microscopic world, because there's more wonder there. Viruses are fascinating entities that exist on the border between living and non-living. They're much smaller than bacteria, consisting of genetic material wrapped in a protein coat. They cannot reproduce on their own. Instead, they hijack cells, inserting their genetic material and forcing the cell to make copies of the virus. In doing so, they often damage or destroy the cell. Some viruses infect bacteria, others infect plants or animals. Each virus is highly specific, with its protein coat shaped to bind to particular molecules on particular types of cells. Viruses have played important roles in evolution. Viral genetic material can sometimes integrate into a host's DNA and be passed to offspring. Humans carry many stretches of viral DNA in our genome, remnants of ancient infections. Occasionally, these viral sequences have been co-opted for useful functions. Some play roles in embryonic development. Evolution is opportunistic, using whatever raw material is available, even repurposing viral genes. Prions are even stranger than viruses. They're infectious proteins, misfolded versions of normal proteins that can cause other proteins to misfold, spreading the damage. Prions cause diseases like mad cow disease and Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease in humans. They're incredibly difficult to eliminate because they're not alive and don't contain genetic material. Standard sterilization often doesn't destroy them. Prions show that even our understanding of infection and disease has exceptions and mysteries. The microbiome we discussed earlier deserves more attention. Recent research shows that the trillions of bacteria in your gut influence far more than digestion. They communicate with your brain through the vagus nerve and through molecules they produce. Some gut bacteria produce neurotransmitters, chemicals that brain cells use to communicate. Changes in gut bacteria have been linked to mood disorders, anxiety, and even autism, though the exact relationships are still being studied. The gut-brain axis is a new frontier in biology, revealing connections we didn't suspect existed. Your skin microbiome is also important. The bacteria on your skin help maintain the skin's acidic pH, which protects against pathogens. They compete with harmful bacteria, taking up space and resources. They even help train your immune system. Overwashing or using antibacterial products too frequently can disrupt this protective community, potentially making you more vulnerable to skin infections or conditions. A moderate approach to hygiene, keeping skin clean without trying to eliminate all bacteria, maintains a healthy balance. Biology extends into realms we rarely think about. The paper you write on comes from plant cells, specifically the cellulose in wood. The cotton in your clothes is made of plant fibers, essentially elongated plant cells. Leather is preserved animal skin. Wool is animal hair. Silk is protein fibers produced by silkworm caterpillars for their cocoons, harvested and woven by humans. Natural rubber comes from latex, a milky fluid produced by rubber trees as a defense against insects. Humans tap this fluid, process it, and use it for countless products. Biology provides many of the raw materials for human civilization. Biological knowledge helps us make better decisions. Understanding evolution helps us manage antibiotic resistance. Bacteria evolve rapidly, and when we use antibiotics heavily, we create selection pressure for resistant strains. These resistant bacteria survive, reproduce, and spread, making infections harder to treat. Knowing this, we can use antibiotics more carefully, reserving them for when they're truly needed, completing prescribed courses to ensure all bacteria are eliminated, and developing new antibiotics to stay ahead of resistance. This is applied evolutionary biology. Understanding ecology helps with conservation. Protecting habitats, maintaining biodiversity, controlling invasive species, and managing resources sustainably all require ecological knowledge. We can't protect what we don't understand, and even well-meaning conservation efforts can backfire without solid understanding of ecological relationships. Biology gives us tools to make informed choices about how we interact with the natural world. Understanding human biology improves health. Knowing how your cardiovascular system works helps you appreciate the value of exercise. Understanding how your immune system responds to vaccines helps you make informed health decisions. Recognizing that your gut microbiome influences your health might encourage you to eat a more varied diet, including fermented foods that support beneficial bacteria. Biology isn't just abstract knowledge. It's deeply practical, relevant to daily life and personal choices. As we near the end of our gentle journey through biology tonight, let's step back and appreciate the elegance of it all. From the four-letter alphabet of DNA that encodes life's instructions, to the complex ecosystems where millions of species interact, biology reveals patterns and principles that unify the living world. Cells are the basic units of life, all built on similar plans, whether they're in bacteria or humans. Energy flows through ecosystems, from the sun through plants to animals and decomposers, driving the cycles of matter. Evolution through natural selection shapes life over time, producing the astonishing diversity we see around us. Organisms interact with each other and their environments in intricate webs of dependency and competition. These principles help us see connections. The carbon in your body came from the atmosphere, captured by plants through photosynthesis, passed to you through food. The oxygen you breathe was produced by plants and algae. The bacteria in your gut descended from free-living bacteria that formed partnerships with animals millions of years ago. You are not separate from nature. You are part of it, made of the same materials, following the same biological rules, connected through deep history to all life on Earth. There's comfort in this knowledge. You belong to something larger than yourself, part of an unbroken chain of life stretching back billions of years. Every cell in your body performs small miracles constantly. Your heart beats about 100,000 times a day without you thinking about it. Your lungs process thousands of liters of air. Your cells replace themselves, repair damage, and defend against invaders, all automatically. You are a community of trillions of cells working together, plus trillions of bacterial partners, all cooperating to keep you alive and well. And this cooperation extends beyond your body. You depend on plants for oxygen and food. They depend on soil microbes for nutrients. Soil microbes depend on dead organic matter. Everything feeds into everything else in great cycles. The web of life is stronger than any single strand. Diversity creates resilience. Relationships create stability. And you, reading these words or hearing them spoken, are one thread in that vast web, valuable and connected. Biology teaches us to be curious, to look closer, to ask questions. Why does that plant have red leaves? Why do birds sing at dawn? How does bread rise? Each question leads to more questions, and each answer reveals more complexity and beauty. The more we learn, the more there is to appreciate. A simple walk in a park becomes an exploration when you start noticing leaves, insects, birds, fungi, and thinking about the biological processes and relationships happening all around you. Biology also teaches humility. Life has been solving problems for billions of years through the patient, mindless process of evolution. The solutions are often elegant and always tested by reality. We're just beginning to understand these systems, and the more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know. But that's not discouraging. It's exciting. There are always new mysteries to explore, new connections to discover, new applications to develop. Consider how animals sense their world, often in ways quite different from how we sense ours. Dogs experience the world primarily through smell. Their noses contain up to 300 million scent receptors, compared to our roughly 6 million. When a dog sniffs a fire hydrant, it's reading messages left by other dogs, learning who passed by, their health status, even their mood, all encoded in chemical signatures too subtle for us to detect. This is a different way of experiencing reality, equally valid, just operating through different biological channels. Bats navigate in complete darkness, using echolocation, producing high-frequency sounds and listening to the echoes that bounce back. The time delay and quality of these echoes tell the bat about the size, distance, texture, and even movement of objects around them. It's like seeing with sound, and it's so refined that bats can detect insects as small as mosquitoes while flying at high speeds through cluttered environments. Their brains have special regions dedicated to processing these echo patterns, just as our brains have regions dedicated to processing visual information. Different biology, same function, making sense of the environment. Some snakes can see heat. They have special organs called pit organs that detect infrared radiation, the warmth given off by warm-blooded prey. This creates a thermal image, allowing the snake to hunt effectively even in complete darkness. To a pit viper, the world is painted in heat signatures. Warm bodies glow, cold objects fade into the background. This is another way of sensing reality, shaped by the snake's nocturnal, predatory lifestyle. Many insects see ultraviolet light, wavelengths invisible to humans. Flowers that look plain white to us display vivid ultraviolet patterns to bees, guiding them toward nectar and pollen. These patterns are like landing strips, evolved through interactions between plants and pollinators. The bees benefit from efficient feeding. The plants benefit from pollination. It's a partnership written in light we cannot see, revealed only through understanding biological differences in vision. Electric fish generate and detect electrical fields. In murky water where vision is useless, these fish create electric fields around their bodies and sense distortions in these fields caused by nearby objects. This tells them about their surroundings, helps them navigate, and even allows them to communicate with other electric fish. It's yet another sensory modality, another way biology has found to solve the problem of perceiving the environment. These examples remind us that our human sensory experience is just one version of reality, filtered through our particular biological equipment. Other organisms inhabit sensory worlds we can barely imagine. And yet, all these different sensory systems are built using the same basic biological components: neurons and receptors and brain circuits, just arranged differently and tuned to different aspects of the environment. Evolution works with the tools available, producing remarkable diversity from shared foundations. Let's think about biological clocks again, but in more depth. Many organisms have internal timekeeping mechanisms that run on roughly 24-hour cycles, matching Earth's rotation. These circadian rhythms are ancient, found in organisms from bacteria to humans. At the molecular level, they involve genes that produce proteins in cycles, with the proteins eventually shutting off their own production, creating oscillations that repeat approximately every 24 hours. But organisms also track longer cycles. Many animals respond to seasonal changes with remarkable precision, timing reproduction to coincide with optimal conditions for offspring survival. They use day length as a reliable cue, since it changes predictably through the years. As days grow longer in spring, certain hormones increase, triggering breeding behavior. As days shorten in fall, different hormones prepare animals for winter. This is photoperiodism, using light as a calendar. Some organisms track even longer cycles. Cicadas of certain species spend 17 years underground as nymphs, feeding on tree roots, then emerge all at once in enormous numbers, reproduce, and pass away within weeks. The synchronization is remarkable. After 17 years of silent development, millions emerge together over just a few weeks. This synchronized emergence overwhelms predators through sheer numbers, ensuring that enough cicadas survive to reproduce. But how do they count to 17? The mechanism remains somewhat mysterious, likely involving some form of internal counter tracking seasonal cycles, but the details are still being studied. It's a reminder that biological clocks can measure many timescales. Salmon show another kind of timing. They hatch in freshwater streams, migrate to the ocean where they grow for several years, then return to the exact stream where they were born to spawn. The journey upstream can be hundreds of miles, requiring tremendous energy as they swim against currents and leap over obstacles. They navigate partly by detecting the unique chemical signature of their birth stream, imprinted in their memory during early development. When they arrive, they spawn and then pass on, their bodies providing nutrients to the stream that will nourish the next generation. This life cycle is precisely timed, coordinated with seasonal conditions, and requires multiple biological systems working together. Memory, navigation, hormonal regulation, and physical endurance. Plants have remarkable adaptations we haven't fully explored yet. Some plants can close their leaves when touched, like the sensitive plant Mimosa pudica. Touch a leaf and it folds up rapidly. This happens through changes in water pressure in cells at the base of each leaflet. Disturbing the leaf triggers electrical signals, similar to nerve impulses in animals, that cause cells to lose water rapidly, making the leaf droop. This might deter herbivores or shake off insects. After a few minutes, the leaf slowly reopens. It's movement in a plant, showing that plants are far more active and responsive than they might appear. Carnivorous plants like Venus flytraps and sundews have evolved the ability to trap and digest insects. In nutrient-poor soils, especially soils low in nitrogen, catching insects provides a valuable nutrient supplement. The Venus flytrap's jaw-like leaves have trigger hairs. When an insect touches two hairs in quick succession, the trap snaps shut in a fraction of a second, one of the fastest movements in the plant kingdom. The plant then secretes digestive enzymes, breaking down the insect and absorbing the nutrients. It's a stunning reversal of the usual plant-animal relationship, evolved independently multiple times in different plant families. Some plants communicate through chemical signals. When damaged by insect feeding, certain plants release volatile compounds into the air. Neighboring plants detect these compounds and activate their own defense systems preemptively, producing toxins or compounds that attract predators of the herbivorous insects. This is plant communication, a chemical conversation happening around us constantly, invisible and silent, but biologically significant. The partnerships between plants and fungi extend far beyond what we've discussed. Mycorrhizal fungi connect to the roots of most plant species, forming vast underground networks that link multiple plants. These networks, sometimes called the wood wide web, allow plants to share resources. A large tree with access to more sunlight might share sugars with smaller trees shaded below it. Plants under attack by insects might send warning signals through the fungal network. The fungi benefit by receiving sugars from the plants. The plants benefit from increased access to water and nutrients. It's a sophisticated underground internet, built from living threads of fungus, connecting the forest in ways we're only beginning to understand. Trees can even recognize their offspring. Studies suggest that trees allocate more resources through mycorrhizal networks to their own seedlings compared to unrelated seedlings. This implies some form of recognition, perhaps through chemical signatures. Trees may compete less aggressively with their own offspring, giving them better chances of survival. If true, this suggests that forests are not just collections of individual competing trees, but communities with cooperative relationships, especially among relatives. Water is worth revisiting too, because its biological roles are so central. Every chemical reaction in your body happens in water. Water dissolves nutrients, carries them through your bloodstream, and brings them to cells. It removes waste products, carrying them to kidneys for filtering and elimination. It lubricates joints, cushions organs, maintains blood pressure, and regulates temperature. When you get too hot, you sweat. As the water in sweat evaporates, it carries heat away, cooling you. This works because water has high heat of vaporization, meaning it takes a lot of energy to convert it from liquid to gas. That energy comes from your body heat, providing effective cooling. Water also helps maintain your body's pH, keeping it within the narrow range necessary for enzymes to function. Your blood has buffering systems that resist changes in pH, even when you eat acidic or basic foods. This buffering is crucial because even small changes in pH can alter protein shapes, disrupting their function. Your kidneys and lungs work constantly to maintain pH balance, adjusting the concentration of various ions and regulating carbon dioxide levels. It's a finely tuned system, mostly invisible to your conscious awareness, but absolutely essential. Hormones deserve more attention too. These are signaling molecules produced by specialized glands and released into your bloodstream. Hormones travel throughout your body, but only affect cells with the right receptors, like keys that only fit certain locks. Insulin, for example, is released by your pancreas when blood sugar rises after a meal. Insulin signals cells to take up glucose, lowering blood sugar. In people with diabetes, this system doesn't work properly, either because the pancreas doesn't produce enough insulin or because cells don't respond to it effectively. Understanding this biology has led to treatments that save lives, from insulin injections to medications that improve insulin sensitivity. Growth hormone, as its name suggests, promotes growth, especially during childhood and adolescence. It's released in pulses, especially during deep sleep. This is why good sleep is important for children's growth. Disrupted sleep can interfere with growth hormone release, potentially affecting development. In adults, growth hormone helps maintain muscle mass and bone density. The amount of growth hormone decreases with age, contributing to some of the changes we associate with growing older. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline prepare your body for action. When you perceive a threat, your adrenal glands release these hormones quickly. Your heart rate increases, your breathing deepens, your muscles receive more blood, your pupils dilate to see better, and your liver releases stored glucose for quick energy. This is the fight or flight response, an ancient survival mechanism. It's helpful in true emergencies, but chronic stress, where this response is activated frequently or constantly, can harm health over time, contributing to cardiovascular problems, weakened immune function, and mental health issues. Managing stress is therefore a biological necessity, not just a luxury. Reproductive hormones like estrogen and testosterone have wide-ranging effects beyond reproduction. They influence bone density, muscle mass, mood, energy levels, and even the functioning of your cardiovascular system. The changes during puberty, when reproductive hormone levels rise dramatically, reflect the powerful influence these hormones have on development. Later in life, as hormone levels change during menopause or andropause, various body systems adjust, sometimes causing symptoms. Understanding these hormonal influences helps make sense of bodily changes throughout life and guides medical treatments when needed. Your sense of pain is another biological mechanism worth appreciating, even though pain itself is unpleasant. Pain is a signal that something is wrong, that tissue is damaged or threatened. Special neurons called nociceptors detect harmful stimuli, heat, mechanical pressure, or chemical signals from damaged tissue, and send warning signals to your brain. Your brain interprets these signals as pain and generates responses. Pulling your hand away from a hot surface, avoiding pressure on an injury, resting to allow healing. Without pain, you would unknowingly injure yourself repeatedly, as happens in rare conditions where people lack pain sensation. Interestingly, pain isn't just a direct signal from injury to brain. It's modulated by many factors. Your emotional state, your attention, your expectations, and even past experiences influence how intensely you feel pain. This is why pain can sometimes be reduced through distraction, relaxation techniques, or even placebo effects, where expecting relief actually produces relief, at least partially. Your brain is actively constructing the pain experience, not just passively receiving signals. This complex biology has implications for pain management, suggesting that addressing both physical and psychological factors can be important. Aging is a biological process we all experience, driven by multiple mechanisms. At the cellular level, DNA accumulates damage over time, despite repair systems. Telomeres, protective caps on the ends of chromosomes, shorten with each cell division, eventually leading cells to stop dividing or function less effectively. Proteins accumulate damage from oxidative stress, free radicals produced during normal metabolism. Cellular waste products build up. Repair mechanisms gradually become less efficient. The result is the gradual decline in function we call aging. But aging rates vary considerably between individuals, influenced by genetics, lifestyle, and environmental factors. Regular exercise, healthy diet, stress management, adequate sleep, and social connections are all associated with healthier aging. While we cannot stop aging entirely, we can influence its pace and its impact on health. This is applied biology, using knowledge of how bodies work to make choices that promote longevity and quality of life. Some organisms age very differently than humans. Certain species of jellyfish can apparently reverse their developmental stage, transforming from adult back to juvenile form, potentially achieving biological immortality under the right conditions. Some trees can live for thousands of years, growing slowly but steadily. Certain types of fish and turtles show negligible senescence, meaning they don't show typical signs of aging, even at very old ages. Their risk of passing doesn't increase with age the way it does in mammals. Studying these organisms might reveal mechanisms of aging we don't yet understand, and potentially point toward interventions that could slow human aging. Let's consider biological diversity in more depth. Earth hosts an extraordinary range of life forms, from bacteria that thrive in boiling hot springs to fish that live in perpetually dark ocean depths under crushing pressure. From tiny tardigrades that can survive freezing, drying, and even exposure to space, to massive whales that migrate across entire ocean basins. From fungi that decompose logs over decades to mayflies that live as adults for just a single day. This diversity represents billions of years of evolution, countless experiments in different ways to live, adapt, and reproduce. Yet this diversity is threatened. Human activities, habitat removal, climate change, pollution, overharvesting have accelerated extinction rates far beyond natural background levels. Some estimate we're in the midst of a sixth mass extinction, comparable to the event that ended the time of the non-avian dinosaurs 66 million years ago, but this time caused by one species, us. Every species lost represents unique evolutionary history, lost forever. It also represents potential losses in ecosystem function, as species contribute to the processes that sustain the ecosystems we depend on. Conservation biology applies biological knowledge to protecting species and ecosystems. This involves identifying threatened species, understanding their ecological roles and habitat requirements, protecting critical habitats, managing populations to maintain genetic diversity, and sometimes intervening directly with captive breeding programs or reintroductions. It's challenging work, requiring understanding of genetics, ecology, behavior, and human dimensions, since conservation ultimately depends on human choices and values. But there are success stories. Species brought back from the brink through conservation efforts: bald eagles, humpback whales, grey wolves in some regions, California condors. Protected areas that preserve biodiversity, national parks, marine reserves, wildlife corridors. Restoration projects that rehabilitate damaged ecosystems. Replanting forests, restoring wetlands, cleaning polluted rivers. These successes show that when we apply biological knowledge with commitment and resources, we can make positive differences. Biology also offers hope through understanding and innovation. As we learn more about how ecosystems function, we can design agricultural systems that work with nature rather than against it. Permaculture and agroforestry integrate trees, crops, and animals in ways that maintain soil health, support biodiversity, and produce food sustainably. Biological pest control uses natural predators and parasites to manage crop pests, reducing reliance on chemical pesticides. Cover cropping and crop rotation maintain soil fertility while reducing erosion. These approaches require more knowledge and attention than industrial monoculture, but they're often more sustainable long-term. Biotechnology offers tools for addressing challenges. Genetic engineering can create crops that need less water, resist pests, or provide better nutrition. These technologies must be used carefully, with attention to potential ecological and social impacts. But they represent powerful tools when used wisely. Synthetic biology is beginning to design biological systems from scratch, creating bacteria that produce useful chemicals, materials, or medicines. Bioremediation uses organisms to clean up pollution, employing bacteria or plants that can absorb or break down toxic compounds. Yet with all this knowledge and technology, biology reminds us to be humble. Ecosystems are complex beyond our full understanding. Organisms have relationships and roles we're still discovering. Interventions can have unexpected consequences. The most successful approaches often work with natural processes rather than trying to replace them entirely. Nature has been solving problems through evolution for billions of years. We're wise to learn from those solutions, rather than assuming we can always design better ones from scratch. Biological knowledge also raises ethical questions. As we gain ability to modify genes, including human genes, what should we do? As we extend human lifespans, what social and environmental implications follow? As we decide which species to prioritize for conservation with limited resources, what values guide those choices? These aren't just biological questions, they're philosophical and ethical ones. But they require biological knowledge to address responsibly. Understanding how things work is the foundation for making wise choices about what we should do. In your daily life, biology is constantly relevant. When you choose what to eat, you're making decisions that affect your health through the nutritional biology of food and your body's metabolism. When you exercise, you're engaging biological processes that strengthen muscles, improve cardiovascular function, and support mental health. When you spend time in nature, you're benefiting from evolutionary biology, as our species evolved in natural environments, and exposure to nature reliably improves well-being. When you get enough sleep, you're allowing crucial biological processes of memory consolidation, cellular repair, and hormone regulation to proceed properly. Even your social relationships have biological components. Social connection reduces stress hormones, supports immune function, and contributes to longevity. Loneliness triggers biological stress responses that can harm health over time. We are a social species, evolved to live in communities, and our biology reflects this. Taking care of relationships is taking care of your biology. The food you eat connects you to vast biological networks. The vegetables on your plate were grown by plants converting sunlight into chemical energy, often with help from soil microbes and mycorrhizal fungi. The grains were domesticated over thousands of years through human selection. If you eat meat, dairy, or eggs, those came from animals that ate plants or other animals. The entire food chain is biology, from photosynthesis to digestion to metabolism. Understanding this can foster appreciation for food and more thoughtful choices about what and how we eat. The air you breathe connects you to photosynthetic organisms worldwide. Every breath contains oxygen produced by plants and algae, especially the microscopic algae in oceans. As you exhale carbon dioxide, you're providing the raw material those organisms need for photosynthesis. It's a continuous exchange, a planetary respiration linking all living things. You participate in global cycles with every breath, every meal, every day. And so, as you rest tonight, perhaps you can appreciate your own biology a little more. Your breath flowing in and out, moving oxygen to your cells and carbon dioxide away. Your heart beating steadily, pumping blood through miles of vessels. Your brain processing sensations, generating thoughts, storing memories. Your immune system patrolling, always vigilant. Your digestive system extracting nutrients from your last meal with the help of your bacterial partners. All of this happens without conscious effort, a symphony of biology playing constantly, keeping you alive and well. You are a biological marvel, a temporary pattern of organized matter and energy, conscious and aware, capable of understanding your own nature. You carry within you the evolutionary history of life on Earth, written in your DNA, visible in your body's structure, present in your behaviors and capacities. You are ancient and new, individual and connected, simple in principle and incredibly complex in practice. Rest now, knowing you're part of something vast and beautiful. The same forces that move in stars and atoms move in you. The same principles that guide forests and oceans guide your cells. You belong here, woven into the fabric of life, temporary but real, unique but connected. Let your biology do its work while you rest. Let your cells repair and renew. Let your brain process the day's experiences, filing them into memory, making connections. Let your body restore itself, preparing for tomorrow. The biology of almost everything surrounds you, supports you, and is you. From the DNA in your nucleus to the bacteria on your skin, from the food you eat to the air you breathe, from the plants that make oxygen to the decomposers that recycle nutrients. All of it is connected. All of it is biology. And all of it is remarkable. Thank you for exploring the living world with me tonight. Thank you for your curiosity, your patience, and your wonder. Whether you're drifting gently towards sleep or still thinking through these ideas, I hope you found something valuable in this journey through biology. The principles we've explored are always at work, in you and around you, every moment of every day. May your sleep be peaceful and restorative. May your dreams be gentle, and may you wake tomorrow with renewed appreciation for the biological miracle that is your existence. You have done enough for today. Close your eyes now, rest deeply, and let the elegant machinery of life carry you through the night. From the Sleepy Library, good night.